about writing a book, but you never seem to make the time to actually write the book, then today my guest, Alicia Dunams, is going to kick our butts a little bit and help us learn a very simple strategy to get those books out of our heads and out there in the world. Hi, I'm Melanie Benson, and I'm known as America's leading small business optimizer. And in this weekly series, we learn how to take things that might be overwhelming or that aren't really producing the best results and put better systems, strategies, techniques into place so we can optimize. It's that idea of how you put one tiny thing into action that makes everything perform so much better. And today we're going to talk about books with my friend Alicia Dunams. Now, Alicia is the founder of Bestseller in a Weekend, and this program has helped thousands of authors to go from the idea stage to having a book in record time. Now, a little bit of background here. I have been talking about writing a book forever. And I have no shortage of writing. I've written products. I've written a million blog posts. I write all day long. I have manifestos. But for some reason, this idea of getting a book out has just been this sticky place for me. So, of course, I'm surrounding myself with people right now who are really good at this. So I'm so glad that we could bring Alicia in and have her share some ideas, and hopefully she's going to kick our butts and help us see how we can get that book out there, or maybe even inspire a book if you are ready to get some ideas out in a bigger way. So, Alicia, thanks so much for coming on today.
Melanie, so great to be here. Thank you.
Yeah, and I'm just noticing your beautiful beach background there. That's right out your window, right?
Yes, the sunset behind me.
All day long.
All day long. Yes,
that's awesome. Good. Well, and congratulations on your recent relocation to Manhattan Beach, one of the most beautiful places in the world. Yay! We love more people in our backyard. That's awesome. So let's talk about how you got into this niche of writing books, because I gotta believe you didn't start out as being an expert with writing books.
No, if you turn your mess into a message, that's usually how it goes about. I mean, everyone asks me, like, did you plan on doing what you're doing? And it's like, I had no idea. The most direct line from A to B is not necessarily a line. You kind of go in different directions, opportunities present themselves, and that's how it is. So when I graduated from UCLA in 1998, I had no idea I'd be doing this now. And so that's what I'm doing. But really, it started when I wrote my own book back in 2007 called Goal Digger, Goal Digger, Lessons Learned from the Rich Men I Dated. And that was a book. I didn't even know what I was doing. I was really taking experiences from being single and dating. We were talking a little bit about that before we jumped on, and put it into a self-help book for women. So I didn't have a platform. This was just when social media was starting. I think I got on Facebook in 2006. And so I wrote a book, but I didn't know how to really get it out there in the world and how to generate income, because that was the thing that I wanted to do with it. And so I wrote a book, and what I noticed is other women authors who were on the New York Times bestseller list at that time in 2007, I looked at them, I'm like, it looks like what they do is they do seminars. They speak and they do seminars. So that's what I'm going to do. And so I had my book, and I'm like, I'm going to do a seminar. I'm going to call it Wealthy Girl Summit. And I did it. I had a plan for January 2008. But within a couple weeks of writing my book and finishing it, I called Laurel Langmeyer, who was at the time on the New York Times bestseller list. And I said, hey, would you speak at my upcoming event? And she said yes. And she didn't know me from Adam. I just launched my book. I had no idea. I wasn't in the space. I wasn't an internet marketer. I wasn't like an author, speaker person. I was just kind of me. And so she said yes. I'm like, oh my goodness, is it this easy? And then I went on and called other people. One was Christine Comerford, who was on the New York Times with her Rules for Renegade. And then Marcy Shimoff. They all said yes to speak at this conference that I put on. And when I put on the conference, it was a lot of work. Oh my good, getting butts into seats and the marketing. It was a real tough job, and I found that it wasn't a financial win. It was actually a wash. But what happened is I had 13 speakers, and many of them came up to me afterwards, and they said, Alicia, we saw that you wrote a book. Can you help us write a book? And so that was the genesis of my business. And then I started off as a consultant and a coach and helping people with a publishing company. I worked with a lot of CEOs at that time. And then I found out a few years into it, around 2008, like, this is tough. Every month I'm always looking for new clients. I do not like being in this situation. It's being versus, are you seeking or are you sourcing? I felt like I was seeking. I was going out and looking. And so how can I be source? And I said, okay, what's one thing that I teach all of my clients that I can deliver, instead of a one-to-one model, a one-to-many model? And that's when I created Bestseller in a Weekend. And I launched my first event in 2010 and 2011. And I've been doing the same thing ever since.
I love it. And it's such a great story, too, because you're right. It was a squiggly line. You didn't end up where you thought you were going to go, but you probably ended up with something that you never would have imagined that was so much better.
Never would have imagined. I just finished my online mastermind call before this podcast, and I was telling them, I mean, you know, when you're heading for something in life, you never know where it's going to lead to you. So our biggest job is to continue to serve, continue to provide value, because when you are operating on a certain level, you inspire others to do the same.
Absolutely.
So if I ever gave up, even then, when life threw me kind of what is it called? One of those balls.
A wiffle.
A wiffle ball.
Yeah.
One of those balls. When life throws you one of those balls, I can't think of the name. You just catch it and keep it moving. And I know that because I'm doing what I'm doing, I've helped over 1,000 people write books and go on to do amazing things. And that becomes, your calling.
Yes.
Always focusing out. When in doubt, focus out.
Yeah.
And so that's coming from that place. Now, have I always been in that place? Absolutely not. I mean, I was 2008, 2009. Remember that time when the financial markets fell and
Yeah.
I had a mortgage in San Francisco. I was fully stressed out, single mom, scarcity mode, and a shift in mindset is what it takes to really come from a place, to change from scarcity into abundance. And that's that I'll always be taken care of. If I focus out, you will be. I mean, at the end of the day, you will be. If you're providing value, you'll always be taken care of.
Yeah, well said. And I love that your mindset is that place, because as we know, our mindset is having such a huge influence over our action all the time. So, you got to get your head right if you want to get your business right. So
absolutely,
it has a lot of intersecting points there. So, a lot of people talk about writing books. If you go into any bookstore, you go online, you're going to see thousands and thousands of books. Why should someone write a book, Alicia?
Well, writing a book is really a way to give you credibility, give you visibility, and to become a thought leader in your particular niche or industry. So writing a book is one of the fastest ways, first of all, to get on TV.
Okay.
One of the fastest ways to get on TV. Another example is a woman named Ana Maria Sanchez, who came through Bestseller in a Weekend. Small business, a holistic provider in San Francisco. Now she's speaking at the United Nations. This is her third year in a row. Mm-hmm. Her book was a way to really build a platform to give her that access and to connect with people. And so it's also your 24-hour, 7-day-a-week sales force. So writing a book is a way to, it's a global economy. People all over the world can access your book. And one thing that I teach in my program is to ensure that you are talking about your products and services and how people can continue working with you beyond the book. Additionally, it's a way to duplicate yourself. Are you saying the same thing over and over again to different people? This is a way where people can access the book, access your it's the productization of your expertise, essentially. Right. So it's you as a product, and that's the first product. And I always tell everyone in the world can buy a copy of your book, but not everyone in the world can buy an hour of your time.
That's a great way to look at it, because, when we talk about leveraging ourselves in order to expand our influence and our reach and hopefully our financial income, you can't do that if it's just you, or that somebody has to get inside your head or pay for an hour of your time. So I love the idea of having a book that people could access, whether it's digital or in print. And, I'm sure you have some advice about which one of those is better. But so basically, anybody who has an idea that they want to get out in a bigger way could benefit by writing a book and building their platform around it.
Absolutely. And one thing that I teach is, so you can write a book to build your platform, or you can write a book to monetize your platform.
Ooh, good distinctions.
And when you are writing your book, you can use that content, and even the title and subtitle of your book can be an extension into workshops, seminars, webinars, etc. So using that content and repurposing it in other ways.
Mm-hmm.
So one thing when I'm teaching and facilitating bestseller in a weekend is, can we turn your title into, can we get it trademarked? So can we turn it into something that could be a signature talk, that can be a signature program or product for you?
Yeah, absolutely. So, all right, what is the biggest mistake that people are making when they're trying to get a book done?
The biggest mistake, well, I would say the biggest mistake is trying to cover too much.
Guilty.
Yes.
You just nailed me like in one comment there. Yes, I totally get it.
Absolutely. I mean, the first thing in bestseller in a weekend is I'm like, there's a guy told me this when I was writing my book, Gold Digger, is niches equals riches.
Yep,
And I always
so
remember
true.
that. And so get really focused in. Who's your target audience? What's their pain point and how do you solve it? People say, I don't know who my target audience is. Look at the last 3 clients you served. What's a common thread between all 3 of them? Are they all women? Are they all over 50? Are they people looking to get a reverse mortgage? What is a common thread? And really writing a book that people are searching for.
Yeah, so well said. And when they're writing a book, what's a technique or strategy that you help people see to maybe make it a little bit easier? Because I know it can be overwhelming in our minds when we think about, oh, I've got to do all this stuff, but I'm sure you've got some tips for people there.
Absolutely. So when you determine the topic of your book by figuring out who your target audience is, what their pain point, and how you solve it, then creating an outline. And one thing that we do during Bestseller Weekend is we come up with questions. And by answering those questions, you are you're eliciting and creating the content of your book. And one way we do it is through dictation and transcription. So, recording audio and transcribing it is one of the fastest ways to create book content.
Yeah. And, in your experience, does everybody have to go out and get their own publisher, or are there other ways that people have successfully gotten their book out?
So it's so interesting you asked. I just launched a book proposal in a weekend because I found out that a couple of my clients that I helped them write their first books that they either self-published or were preparing for self-publish, they ended up, because we were a book proposal, getting publishing deals. And so I talk about it both ways in my programs. So Bestseller in a Weekend is for people who want to write a book, whether it's traditionally published or they want to self-publish it. But in terms of going for a traditional publisher, it's going about it in a different way. It's really about having that platform and that marketing plan ready. So you're showing them that you can sell books on your own.
Yes.
And so I would say this. I would say if you go with a traditional publisher for cachet, and once you've got it, so if you get it first and you get a traditional publisher, awesome, you can self-publish the rest of the way because you have the cachet, you're credible because you have that. You can self-publish first, use that as to build your platform, and then get a publishing deal, which I've helped many of my clients do.
So it really kind of depends on where you're at in your own platform building process and or what your end goals are for your book. Because
Absolutely.
You can win either way.
Absolutely. You can write a book to build your platform. If no one knows you, you don't have an email list, you're just getting new on social media, write a book.
Right.
That's a way to get known, to get on podcasts, to start a blog, to be featured on blogs, to be featured just like what's happening right here. And then there's the whole, wow, I'm huge. I got 100,000 million people follow me on Twitter and Instagram. Okay, it's time to write a book. So you can monetize that audience in a way that you're, of course, providing value, but giving them an insight to your thoughts.
Yeah, and one thing I learned recently, and I don't know if you did too, is that when you have taken the time to build up your own platform, it actually can help you if you're going to qualify for a book advance, and it substantiates you. And as the publishers are looking at people, they're looking at what kind of risk am I taking here, and that can help.
Yeah, publishers, what they're looking for now is they're looking for fabulousness. They're looking for fame. They're looking for credibility. They're looking for how many people are following you. they could, if you have a huge platform, it doesn't even matter what your book is about. I mean, they'll spit some ideas at you. You can, go back and forth, but they're investing in you as an author and as a thought leader. So building that platform and having that marketing plan is key. And so really with one of my clients that I worked with in a VIP session, I'm like, they want you. I mean, you could, throw spaghetti at the wall and they'd be happy because they're really investing in you. Obviously, you want to write an amazing book that's going to get your thoughts, beliefs across and start movements. But you have to look at that they're investing as you in you. And that's the world we're living in, is creating these individual brands. It's an exciting thing.
Yeah. So you keep talking about bestseller in a weekend, and I love it. It's really catchy. But can you really write a book in a weekend through your process?
Through the process, we aim to create a 100-page draft book manuscript in the weekend.
That is awesome.
So, yeah.
Well, and that kind of, if it's going to be a longer, book, it gives you the momentum and the clarity to finish it, whereas you might get stuck trying to get it off the ground, which I can relate to because I've been through that part.
Absolutely. So it gives people where they have a 100-page draft book manuscript, whether they want to launch an ebook, they can launch that by the end of the weekend, or if they're wanting to create a longer book, they have the structure, the outline, and everything ready to go to finish and continue the process and get it out there.
Great tips. I love it. So I want to dig a little bit more into Alicia.
Absolutely.
To know you, the entrepreneur. I imagine, and I might be making this up, this might be my own projection, but I think every single entrepreneur out there has had some kind of major challenge that's helped define and shape who they become, once they kind of hit their stride and their success. Did you have one of those massive failures or a pivot moment where you had to really look at how you were running your business?
Well, it's interesting. Even just this last week, I had a major breakthrough around that I have delegated so much in my business that I'm so far removed from some of the operations that I need to get back intimate with my business, intimate with the numbers, intimate with Infusionsoft, intimate with lead pages. That the fact that I didn't know my passwords, the fact that I was so far removed and I was outsourcing it, I was like, this is interesting. I get to really jump back into it and become empowered, because if you don't do that, if you're outsourcing so much and if you're delegating so much, you get far removed from your business, and then there's some disconnect there, because at the end of the day, you're paying people who it's not their business to run your business, and so that's been something that's come up for me just even recently, and so that's when I'm delving into summer, is really jumping back into the operations and the systems behind my business.
Delegating is one of the biggest points that people talk about, where either there was the breakdown or there's an optimization that they learn to do. And it's interesting that you were just talking about is it's called over-delegation. And I've had a lot of people who graduated from my Build Your Dream Team program who just, rock stars out there, and they tell me, they went, oh my God, I did that thing you talk about where you over-delegate. And it's a natural arc that we hit where we get really good at getting things off our plate, and then we realize, wait a minute, I still need to have some controls in place.
Yes.
So it's kind of like we all have these natural trajectories that we go on as we become bigger and more successful. So it's a sign that you're growing really well, and I'm really glad to see that you're recognizing it, because there's really simple things to put in place to course correct that. And so that, I guess that takes me to the other end of it is, have you found a place where you realize there's an area of your business you could optimize, and by optimizing it, it just kind of unleashed another level of success?
Yeah, really, going back and getting intimate with the systems. I mean, one thing especially as a woman business owner, I noticed a lot of internet marketers who I know who are men, they're really hands-on in terms of the technology. Mm-hmm. And that's something that as you said, that I was over-delegating. So in terms of optimization of my business is just even having the structure of having an office and 9 to 3, those are my business hours, 9 to 3 business hours have been very productive for me, because I really prided myself on being free and like a laptop business owner and entrepreneur, and I could work at Starbucks, and I found that kind of just flying all over the place and wasn't serving me. It wasn't. You get to have structure to have more freedom. Structure breeds more freedom. When you're all over the place, you're all over the place. And that's something that I saw and really honed in on. And other ways to optimize my business. Obviously, I've run my business for the last 5 years using Basecamp as a project management tool, using Google Docs and Gmail, so technology tools in that way. Have optimized my business, but I would definitely say now is having a team in place, but the leader, which is the owner founder, the CEO, is really creating the vision for your team and giving them, trusting them enough to be able to fulfill that vision, but you as a leader to holding that vision. So a lot of mindset stuff comes in as well. So visualizing, what are you going to generate this month? Also, I mean, I'm really big on numbers. And I'm not really an analyzer, but that's one thing I'm big on is numbers, and what matters is measured, and what is measured matters. And so hitting your daily numbers. So I'm big in sales. And in terms of sales, it's like how much you're going to sell today, by when. And that's one thing that I'm very deadline driven in business is always asking the by when. Always being focused on, again, yes, everyone is people. Your clients are people, but you also want to look at it as numbers. What kind of results are you looking to get at the end of the week, at the end of the month, at the end of the year? So every month being measurable, every day being measurable. So I'm really big on numbers and spreadsheets in that way. And it has to do also with visualization. So you visualize what you want to create in terms of numbers, and visualize what you want to create in terms of impact. So it can be a both and. It doesn't have to be that you're all focused on generating income and revenue. It's absolutely being of service and ensuring that your clients get what they need. That's at the end of the day, that they get what they need from you, that you help them propel their business to the next level, their life to the next level. And so having the number side, but having the impact side. I mean, that's the name of one of my masterminds is called Impact, Influence, Income. We want to create the maximum impact in the world by being influential in our industry, in our niche as a leader. And then we get to create income as well, because through income, you are generating jobs and opportunities. So it's something that I really bring home to my clients is you get to have all three. You get to create massive impact in the world. You get to have influence and build your brand and platform, and you get to create income so you can create other jobs and give back and contribute in huge ways.
Really well said. I kept thinking, there's a mantra that I learned many years ago is like where attention goes, energy flows.
Absolutely.
And so the fact that you're bringing light to knowing our numbers and being intimate with our numbers and focusing on the numbers, we're putting attention on it. And when you don't put attention on it, it's not going to get a lot of energy.
Absolutely.
So I think it's really awesome that you're holding that space and that you're a woman who's obviously in a creative field, but you get numbers. And I think that message, as our listeners are tuning in, I know there's a lot of people that are intimidated by numbers. And it's really a mindset that allows us to master our relationship with money. So thanks for bringing that one up.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think when it comes to numbers, especially, mentioned being a woman, and when I teach sales in my programs, it's looking at the perspective of not sales, but that you are supporting people to get what they need in the world.
Absolutely.
That transformation. And the more we're providing that value, the more, and also you can leave people hanging. I was just coaching some of my clients, and she said, I did this retreat, and everyone was awesome. And I'm like, okay, what's the next step? What's the next action? How can they work with you further? Oh, I didn't do that. Okay, you kind of left them hanging. I mean, they maybe they wanted to like continue that momentum, take on their life in that way. And so one of my favorite quotes is George Bernard Shaw, and just a snippet of it is, I want to be thoroughly used up when I die. I want to give myself to the next generation. So looking at your life that way, that obviously you want to be in the flow. You want things to be, amazing and feel good, but you also get to be rigorous in life as well. And like, there's so many people depending on me, especially when you have an internet marketing business. It's not like 10 or 20 people. So I have tens of thousands of people who are depending on my videos on Mondays, are depending on my free webinars every Thursdays, who are depending on my me to be fully focused during Bestseller in a Weekend and my other programs. And so that you can create rigor, but it could be in the flow as well. It doesn't have to be exhausting. It can come from a place of giving. And one thing that I love about the economy we're in this kind of global community-based economy is you don't have to do it all on your own. When you have communities around your products and services, other people jump in. Someone has a question, and I don't answer it right away. I have someone else, like, Bestseller Weekend alumni, jump in there and answer the question. So it's accountability. It's accountability where everyone feels engaged. Everyone feels seen and heard. And the more you engage your community in terms of that, like, they feel an ownership. They feel a responsibility, and they feel like leaders, because leaders create other leaders.
That is so true. And, there's that whole idea of a rising tide lifts all ships.
Yes.
And as we deepen our ability to lead, and this is a big one for me because I'm all about developing leaders, who are emerging leaders as entrepreneurs, like, you have to get, like, when you really deepen your ability to lead, the impact and influence, it's just organic. So you don't have to work so hard, and so people are inspired by you. I love it. And speaking of inspiration, you shared a great quote a minute ago, but I know for me, quotes oftentimes are the things that I have, like, special quotes if I'm in a certain mood or I need to, like, create something. I'll, like, pull out certain quotes to help me remember how to think. Do you have one that helps you stay inspired and really keep your energy up?
Oh, I have one that just, I like the thoroughly used up when I'm dying.
Yeah, I love that one.
And then I have a quote, it's pray and move your feet.
Pray, yes, I've known that one for years. I love that one.
Because you can hope and pray and meditate, but then at the end of the day, you get to move your feet. And it's about being. It's like who you be, but it's also what you create, what you implement, and what you do. And so it's the law of attraction, but it's making things happen. It's visualizing what you want to create, but then, making the connections, being there, being focused. And I think, it's interesting. As my business as it is now, I don't think I need to do anything more. I don't think I have to do. I think the way to achieve the next levels is just my ways of being. And one thing I've seen has been a huge significance is being outward focused. As I mentioned before, when I was 2008, I was like total critter brain, back into a corner, single mom. Yeah. Total, like, don't mess with me, like, totally in my masculine. And a shift that I've done is just, like, really being in the flow, being, like, joyful, connected, compassionate, reaching out. And I see, like, my clients are just loving it. And it's not, I didn't do it because of that. I was like, this isn't working. This kind of, not aggression, but just being so exhausted, being exhausted all the time, pushing and pushing and pushing. This isn't working anymore. It's being, instead of seeking and going out, it's being of source, magnetizing. And so it was just like, who can I be? And I found, when I walk in a room, I'm a strong presence. I'm 5'10". I use my hands a lot, and I'm strong. And so being approachable, being compassionate, really focusing, being tender, being loving, and that's the ways of being that have supported me in my business growth. And it's just so much, it's an effortlessness. Yeah.
I knew there was a reason I wanted to interview you. Whoa, my gosh, we have so much more to talk about, and we have so little time. So, what I want to do is I want to share with everybody how they can find out more about you and Bestseller Weekend, because I truly believe that this idea of getting a book out, whether or not right now that you want to get a book out, I think just being in the energy of what message do I have to give, it can be very transformational. So let's share with everybody how they can find out more about your program.
Absolutely. You can go to bestselleraweekend.com, and there's a webinar. You can take a look and free webinar and watch it and see if it's a good fit for you. And you can also find more information on my blog at aliciadunams.com. Every Monday I have a video called Motivation Mentor, and I give free webinars every Thursday, hot seats, book marketing, online marketing tips every Thursday.
Thank you. And it's really valuable information. I've been following Alicia's stuff for a while, and I just got to tell you, she's just dead on the money, or right on the money. I guess we don't want to be dead. We want to be right on the money.
Yes.
She's right on the money. So check her out. And, we've covered a lot of ground today. So as you're listening in, I'd love to hear what your aha or your insight was. Are you inspired now to write a book or get that book out of your mind? Did you have an aha about your process of how you're moving into greater levels of influence and impact? I know I've had a couple. So I'd love to hear them. Come share them on the blog at melaniebensonstrick.com. If you're listening on Stitcher Radio or iTunes, we'd love to have you come over, pop in. You can just look for the comment section below Alicia's episode here. And as always, really, really get that it's the little tiny hinges that swing big doors. So when you're looking to take your business to the next level, you want to accomplish greater things. It's not always that big thing that you have to fix. It's tiny little things that make your business perform better. So just look for that little piece that you need to optimize, and you will see great results. All right, we'll see you again next week, everybody, for another fantastic guest. And thanks for being here today. And thanks, Alicia, so much for being here. Bye, everybody.